That's going too far!
Way to go, knucklehead!
Shoot!
Now, I know what you're thinking. Knuckles was born and raised with the purpose of guarding the Master Emerald. How could Sonic even compare to his ability of protecting it? The thing is, just because someone has held a position for a long time, does not in turn mean they are best suited for the role. Sonic likely wouldn't be too thrilled at having to watch a rock all day, but for this video, we will assume that the world is in danger, so the team needs to be 100% certain the Master Emerald isn't taken, and that it will only be a temporary measure until the threat is cleared. This way, Sonic should be okay with giving his all to the job. Let's take a look at the qualities we would want in a Guardian. They would need to be alert at all times, either by somehow constantly being on the watch, or by having tools that will help inform them if the object they are protecting is in danger. They would need to be dedicated to the job, by which I mean they wouldn't be tempted to trade in the object under their protection in exchange for wealth or power, etc. They would need to be able to resist and fight back against those that would take the object they guard by force, as well as being capable of keeping back a considerably larger force or group without backup of their own.
They outnumber us 3-1.
Then it is an even fight.
There are other factors, of course, but let's just analyse these ones for now. Knuckles obviously has failed to protect the Master Emerald numerous times in the past, as shown in the games, but was that due to a lack of awareness? His first encounter with Dr. Eggman resulted in the Doomsday robot claiming the Master Emerald as a power source, whilst Knuckles battled against Sonic instead, all because Knuckles was tricked by Eggman. Obviously, Knuckles' social skills were at an all-time low back then, however, even giving him the benefit of the doubt in that regard, you were telling me he unwaveringly trusted this strange egg-shaped man, his word, and never once suspected that he too may want the Master Emerald?
You're stupid.
Some will say that Eggman earned Knuckles' trust since he informed him of the Chaos Emeralds in Sonic's possession as being an indicator that he also wanted the Master Emerald. However, it was still very naive not to keep track of the good Doctor's movements at the same time. In Sonic Adventure, the Master Emerald is yet again disturbed by the Eggman.
Who you texting? Who you texting?
No one.
Hey! Yo, relax, man. Easy, cool. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Hey, man, what are you doing? You can't be doing that, man. What's going on?
However, this time it is obliterated by the cannon of a battleship. That would be pretty challenging for most people to prevent, but we can still look at how Knuckles attempted to prevent the attack. He didn't. He was dozing off. Eggman came at the cover of night and blasted the gem from afar, and as a result, Knuckles wasn't aware of the large flying fortress until it was already over. Even if he had noticed it though, it wasn't like there was much he could have done, save for body blocking the shot, but that would have certainly spelled the end for Knuckles, whereas Eggman could have loaded another cannon. So it was kind of unavoidable, but excuses won't keep the Master Emerald safe. In Sonic Chronicles, Knuckles enlisted the support of Tails' technology to help him defend the Master Emerald. However, in this instance, his opponents were technologically advanced enough to effectively negate any supposed benefits the traps and such would have provided. Knuckles is known to set his own more traditional traps, however, seen to their fullest extent in Sonic 3. However, they ultimately failed in dissuading Sonic on his path. You could argue that Knuckles just keeps getting unlucky with all these forces of nature and technological geniuses that keep coming after the Master Emerald. But that is in fact exactly the problem. It's all well and good that Knuckles notices when Dave from next door tries to grab the Master Emerald, but it's not like he would have been able to do much with it anyway. An object of infinite power is always going to draw the attention of those who seek to harness its energy one way or another, and those people are likely powerful, dangerous, or both. So even if that's the only group Knuckles fails to notice, it's the single most catastrophic category of people to miss. As for dedication, this is something Knuckles definitely has, no doubt about it. I do not need to list off the amount of times Knuckles has stubbornly refused to do something as a result of it jeopardizing the Master Emerald's safety, because that was a large portion of his dialogue pre-Sonic Heroes. The Echidna tribe has faded away, with only Knuckles remaining, and he believes it is his fate and duty to guard the Master Emerald, as he always has, and presumably, some members of his tribe before him did as well. He has never been portrayed handing over the Master Emerald to anyone without having substantial cause to do so. So he's not that alert, but is at the very least dedicated to the job. Can Knuckles hold his own in a fight to guard the Master Emerald? Of course he can, is what you probably expected me to say. However, the truth is actually a bit more complicated than simply looking at the echidna's raw strength. Sure, Knuckles can break boulders, but as we saw in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, he's not immune to a little shock therapy. If it wasn't for Sonic and Tails, Dr. Eggman would have gotten away with the Master Emerald. In Sonic Adventure, Chaos completely overpowered Knuckles during their initial encounter, although near the end of the game, Knuckles does succeed in defeating Chaos 6. It should be mentioned though, that Chaos 6 was just beaten by Sonic before challenging Knuckles, and thus was not at full strength there. In Sonic Adventure 2, there wasn't really one single force Knuckles had to confront to save the Master Emerald, but the closest to that would be his fight with Rouge, which resulted in a tie. Finally, in Sonic Chronicles, the enemies simply overwhelmed Knuckles with sheer numbers. It didn't matter how many he took out, more kept coming, and whilst he grew wearier with each hit, the enemy replacements were always healthy. As you can see, in the moments where it truly mattered, Knuckles' strength at best was only able to delay the inevitable, and at worst, was negated entirely. So that was Knuckles' case. Sure, he means well and would never desert his post, but it is undeniable that once the world became aware of the Master Emerald's existence, he has failed numerous times at protecting it. And if this theoretical world-threatening entity was seeking it out, would you still feel safe knowing it was up to Knuckles to guard it? Here is where Sonic enters the picture. At a surface level, you may think Sonic is not suited to the role of a guardian. He is loud, fidgety, and doesn't like to stay in one place for too long. However, he is also driven to protect those who cannot protect themselves, and has shown numerous times that he can put others above himself. As such, given the world-ending circumstance, Sonic is on board for this task. Let's see how he compares in categories we assess Knuckles in. For alertness, you could say that since he is able to run at the speeds he does without crashing all of the time, he must be very aware of his surroundings. But at the same time, perhaps he's more focused when running. So even though that is highly likely, let's throw Knuckles a bone and ignore that fact. Based on his past behaviour, Sonic would definitely spend his time running around Angel Island, performing tricks and perhaps playing with the animals as well. Whilst you may think this will distract from his goal, Sonic has demonstrated a very mature mentality that, whilst may not always be outwardly apparent, would mean he wouldn't forget to keep routine tabs on the Emerald. And no matter how far from the Emerald Sonic goes, he's limited to an island, which at Sonic speed is not that large at all. By travelling all over the place, Sonic will not only get more familiar with the terrain, which is useful in its own right, but he will also have numerous vantage points on different angles of approach that intruders could come from. Thanks to his speed, what may have originally come off as a flaw could actually be a strength. In addition to this, whilst he's likely not going to be able to set up traps as elaborate as Knuckles, they were never that effective anyway, as I said before. And since Knuckles had once enlisted the support of Tails, there's no reason Sonic couldn't either. It may even work out better in this case, since Tails is used to building machines that work in tandem with Sonic's own abilities. As for dedication, again in the premise we have set up, Sonic is definitely committed, especially as it likely means either something has happened to Knuckles, or Sonic himself had to remove him. But if we ignore that aspect of this to keep it as accurate as possible, whenever he has a goal, Sonic sees it through. Just take a look at, I don't know, every Sonic game he stars in. With this extensive track record, I think it's fair to assume Sonic would be just as dedicated as Knuckles. Perhaps not forever, but in this theoretical example, it's temporary anyway. This leads us to whether or not Sonic could handle defending the Master Emerald against an overwhelming force, which again, much like the last point, you could just look through all of his games to find your answer. The Sonic Unleashed introduction, the Black Knight introduction, Lost World where he practically conquered an entire planetoid with minimal assistance from Tails, just to name a few. Even on paper, you could see Sonic does well here. He may not be as strong traditionally compared to Knuckles, but speed is a great force multiplier. Aside from that, Sonic is capable of bowling through numerous opponents and obstacles, creating large gusts of winds to defeat groups of enemies, and is excellent at avoiding opponents' attacks. I'm electing to ignore Sonic Forces for this video. Whilst yes, if we include it, you could say Sonic would be easily captured on his own. I would like to point out how poorly done that fight was. Sonic spent so much time standing still, hesitating, and asking his enemies how they were using their hands to hit him.
How are you doing?
Besides, if we did count forces, then we would also need to apply it to Knuckles' points, and that would certainly not benefit his case in the slightest.
Who cares what it's called? What's important is to have a well thought out strategy.
I thought up this strategy in about a minute and a half.
With all that said, I think you can see where I was coming from by suggesting Sonic would make a better Guardian for the Master Emerald. His skill set is a lot more flexible, which is very valuable when you need to adapt to whatever strategies a thief may come up with. Furthermore, Sonic's skills, whilst different from Knuckles, usually have a way of being applied to where they end up covering Knuckles' own skills anyway. For example, Knuckles can climb walls and glide, but Sonic can run up walls and launch himself in the air with the correct angle off of the ground. But even with all of this, I purposely downplayed an aspect of Sonic that Knuckles lacks: his speed. Sonic's speed is leagues more useful than Knuckles' strength for the purpose of guarding the Master Emerald. To demonstrate, let's look at one final category: returning the Master Emerald once it was either taken or shattered. For Knuckles, I will use Sonic Adventure 2. He chose to break the gem into pieces rather than allowing Dr. Eggman to take it, which was fine since he knew he could restore it, but he then had to go on a huge treasure hunt across the land just to piece it back together. Now Knuckles is able to sense the Master Emerald, which is an advantage over Sonic. Well done, Knuckles! It took a deep ancestral connection as well as your entire upbringing just to edge out past Sonic in a single aspect. Man, and here I was wondering why it's always Sonic that saves the day. On the flip side, while Sonic could not sense the Master Emerald, he could make up for it with his speed. Knuckles only has a vague idea of where each piece lies, thus still must first reach the area and then thoroughly search it. Sonic can cover so much more space in much less time compared to Knuckles, so even though he is effectively going in blind, he possibly would find them faster than Knuckles. That's also assuming Sonic cannot learn to sense the Master Emerald. Considering his connection with the Chaos Emeralds, as well as being able to use Chaos Control with Fake, he possibly could sense the Master Emerald. But we won't count that because Knuckles is already grasping at the points he has. As a last-ditch effort, Sonic could also just carry the Master Emerald unbroken and run around so that no one could snag it, something Knuckles could not accomplish. And there we have it. Sonic would quite convincingly outperform Knuckles at his own job. That's got to sting. Poor Knuckles. First his intelligence was taken away from him, and now his ancestral duty. Maybe that's why he allowed 80% of the resistance to die in Sonic Forces. He secretly hates them all for leaving him with nothing. Sadly, that would be more convincing than the reality there. Regardless, that's the video. I haven't really done a what if style video before, so let me know if you liked it. Please share the video with those you think may enjoy the theory craft here, it really does help the channel. Anyway, I hope you had a good time and thank you for watching all the way to the end. See you next time.